So welcome back to my channel. Thank you for coming back. I appreciate it. Today I was gonna go over a little bit more of how living with borderline personality disorder affected my life. And at the time I didn't know that I had it. I didn't know that I had issues. I just knew that I was a moody, very moody person, and I could go from happy to sad within 2 minutes. So I mean, just 2 seconds, just like that. I could go, and I didn't know why. I just thought there was just something wrong with me, which basically there was. But now that I'm getting treated for everything, I'm feeling much better now. But back then, it wasn't that great. So I'll start at where I stopped on my last one was when I was in high school. And I loved my alternative high school. I flourished there. I was a straight A student. I went every day. Even when I was sick, I went every day. I wasn't as sick because my ulcers didn't have flare-ups and I didn't have anxiety as much. I still had anxiety every day, but not as much being there. It calmed me down a lot. And so I met one good friend there, and we were best friends for a while. We just grew apart, but that's how things go. But I ended up being Scientist of the Year, so that's not too bad. And during the time that I went to high school, I had a boyfriend, and we'll call him Jeb, because I don't know. My cat, thank you. I don't know if he wants to have his name on here or not. So I met Jeb. I was with Jeb for 3.5 years, and it was really good for a long time. He moved in with me and my parents, so we were really close. And then I got a yellow Trans Am. And then I got a lot more attention from males than I've ever gotten attention before. Like I said, John was my first boyfriend. I didn't have any boyfriends before then, which I know it was still early. I was still young, but it felt like I was behind everybody because everybody I knew had boyfriends way before I did. And so with the attention, we grew apart, and he didn't want to, but we broke up. And it was hard. It was hard, even though it was me breaking up with him. But I had distractions to keep my morale up. Well, to say that. I don't know how any other way to put that, but I started cruising. So if you didn't know what cruising is where you loop around a street back and forth, and you talk to people in parking lots, you do whatever. So basically it was Facebook back then, because we didn't even have phones. I mean telephones. Cell phones we didn't have. So that was our way of communicating back then. So I was cruising a lot. I was cruising probably, it was summertime. So I was cruising probably every day, because it became an obsession for me. And I couldn't go without a day of not being out there talking to guys, because they might miss me and talk to someone else. I don't know. It was crazy. And so with all the added attention, I started to go to parties and drink and drunk driving, and I never crashed into anybody. I never got pulled over. I never hurt anybody. I never did anything. Nothing ever happened. I'm surprised it didn't, because I was drunk all the time. Even when I was cruising, I was drinking. And I'm very surprised that nothing happened. Thankfully it didn't. But I know a lot of people that did happen. I mean, I lost a couple of friends during the time over drunk driving. So, with being drunk all the time and not in my better thinking mind, I wasn't in a conscious mind most of the time, I became promiscuous. And it's sad to say, and I hate saying it, but that's what happens when you're drunk all the time. People take advantage of you. And I never learned. I just had to keep going with the attention that I was getting. It was, like I said, it was an obsession. I was obsessed with the attention, and I didn't let anything hold me back because I thought I knew everything. We all know that I didn't. So, I ended up meeting Dakota, my oldest son's dad, which we'll call Steve, because I don't know if he wants his name on here either. Probably not a big deal, but I don't know. So we'll say Steve. So I met Steve. We started dating because at that time I was over cruising. I had cruised for a long time. I was ready to have a relationship again. So me and Scott started. Steve started dating. And I ended up graduating from high school after I met him. And we ended up moving out together for a little while. Not super long, because I got pregnant. And I was pregnant for a couple weeks, and I had a miscarriage. And it was one of the worst times of my life. I mean, I didn't want to be around anymore. So I was on unalive watch, since I can't say the word, for I don't even know how many days I was in the hospital. I was not conscious the whole time. I was just cried and was inconsolable. So it was really hard. And so I got out of the hospital, and my life had to go on, even though I didn't want it to. But I got through that, and 3 months later I got pregnant again. And I was horrified, and I was terrified, and I was so scared that it was going to happen again, and I couldn't live that again. I couldn't have. It was too hard the first time. So I was horrified. My mom went with me to find out that I was pregnant, and she just told me that, you know, life is what it is. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. If not, we'll live through it. We'll get through it. And I ended up telling Steve, and I did not get the response that I wanted. We'll just say that. And with me, I don't know if it's part of BPD, but I either really, really like you, or I really hate you. It just clicks. Click, I really like you. Click, I don't like you anymore. And it can be just a tiny little thing. It doesn't matter what it is. It clicks, and I just don't like you anymore. And with the response that I got, it clicked. And I didn't want to be with him anymore because he wasn't there for me when I needed him. And I'm sure I jumped at it probably sooner than I should have, but I just couldn't. I didn't want to be with him anymore. I was too scared, and it was just too hard. So we broke up, and I moved in with my mom and dad. He moved back with his parents. We tried to date for a little bit longer than that, and I just couldn't do it. It was all just gone. So I lived with my parents for my pregnancy, and I ended up having Dakota, which was one of the best things that ever happened to me. My sons were everything to me. So I was happy as a clam when I had him, because that's what I always wanted to be. I wanted to be a mommy. My whole life, that's all I wanted to be. And so it was probably, I think, 6 weeks after I had him, I ended up, my best friend at the time told me she wanted me to meet someone. I wasn't really ready to meet anybody because I just had a baby. My body wasn't ready to meet anybody by any means. But I ended up meeting my ex-husband. And we'll call him BJ. With two. And that's just a whole nother story that I'll get to on another story, because it's already over 12 minutes. So I don't want to drag this video out too long. So I will let you all go. Thank you for joining me again. Like I said, if you'd like to give me a subscribe and a like click, then I would appreciate it. Follow me, do whatever. Thank you for coming, or staying, listening. Thank you.